This week on BuzzFeed Unsolved, we cover the puzzling case of Gloria Ramirez, or as she's more known on the internet, the Toxic Woman. Her death is... yeah.
Don't cite the internet.
Her case is so bizarre that it actually served as the inspiration for an episode of The X-Files and many other TV shows. Right now, we're on our way to Riverside, California to visit the cemetery where she was buried. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Gloria Ramirez was a 31-year-old woman diagnosed with cervical cancer. On February 19, 1994, around 8:15 p.m., Gloria Ramirez arrived at the Riverside General Hospital emergency room, where it was found that Ramirez's heart was beating at a rate too fast for her body. The medical staff attempted to defibrillate, but soon noticed that Ramirez's body was covered in an oily sheen, and that her mouth was emanating a strange fruity garlicky smell.
What the fuck?
I mean, could you even detect fruity garlic if it came down to it?
I bet they talked about it for 10 minutes and we're like, what is that? And then one of them was like, fruity garlic. And everyone was like, oh, yeah.
Either that or they were like, Jesus, Ken.
Yeah.
God, we have a patient here. A nurse named Susan Kane began to draw blood from Ramirez. And upon doing so, Kane noticed the blood had a chemical odor. Even stranger, medical resident Julie Gorchinsky noticed the blood-filled syringe also contained strange manila-colored particles floating in the blood, an observation also noted by attending physician Dr. Humberto Ochoa. Shortly after, Nurse Kane abruptly fainted. Kane stated that her face was burning and was escorted out on a gurney. This sparked a bizarre domino effect. Medical resident Julie Gorchinsky complained of lightheadedness and also fainted. She shook and experienced apnea, a condition where a person stops breathing for a few seconds at a time.
If I were to, what?
I know, right? Directly after that, respiratory therapist Maureen Welch also collapsed. Here's a quote from Welch. Quote, I remember hearing someone scream. Then I woke up. I couldn't control the movement of my limbs. End quote.
This woman is like she sounds like the Manhattan Project.
In case you're keeping score, that's 3 people that fainted. Other staff members reported feeling sick, and the hospital declared an internal emergency. All other patients were evacuated to the parking lot, and a small crew continued to work to save Gloria's life.
It seems odd to evacuate all other patients.
Why?
Maybe just send the stink bomb out to the parking lot.
That is true. Why didn't they just take her out?
It had to be a huge amount of work to move everybody else out. What if we take all of the patients outside and put them in the parking lot? Yep, good idea.
And then one guy in the back, we could just...
Shut up! You idiot, we've already decided.
However, at 8:50 p.m., Ramirez was pronounced dead. The body was moved into an isolation anteroom by 2 other staff members. Sally Balderas, a nurse who helped move the body, began to vomit and reported feeling a burning sensation like nurse Susan Kane. Balderas was hospitalized for 10 days and experienced apnea like Gorchinsky. Gorchinsky, however, was in the worst shape of all, staying in intensive care experiencing a malady of issues, including avascular necrosis, a condition where bone tissue does not receive enough blood and begins to die.
What?
She used crutches for months after hospitalization. All staff members that had been affected by Ramirez's body were treated in the parking lot, and their clothes were removed and put in bags out of fear of a toxic chemical. In the end, Ramirez's body affected 23 of the 37 emergency room staff, and 5 staff members were held in the hospital overnight.
You don't think, though, like maybe one of them was like, oh, I feel sick, I gotta go home, and the other ones were like, yeah, me too, a burning pain, I gotta go home, I gotta go.
You'd think this was all an elaborate...
I gotta go be in emergency care for 10 days.
Jesus Christ. Around 11 p.m., about 2 hours after the incident, a hazardous materials team arrived in full hazmat suits. They searched the hospital for 2 toxic chemicals that could possibly be responsible. However, no chemical was found. 6 days later, an autopsy was performed by the Riverside Coroner's Office in airtight suits in a newly configured airtight examining room. They took samples of blood, tissue, and even air from the body bag. Nothing conclusive came from the autopsy.
These hazmat guys will get it. They got an airtight room. And then they're just like, yeah.
No, I don't know, man. Just fucking weird.
Fucking weird.
County officials called her death, quote, the most baffling in local history, end quote. And the mystery became a media frenzy. By the end, medical detectives from 10 different local, state, and federal forensic departments investigated the case. On April 20th, 1994, Gloria was finally buried in Riverside, California, a full 2 months after her death. So here we are. This is where she was buried. You know, cemeteries are always very spooky and eerie. Are you sniffing? What is wrong with you?
Let me see if it smells like fruity garlic.
Jesus Christ. All right, we're going to get back in the car if you're going to keep doing that.
All right, well.
Pay our respects.
Sorry, Gloria.
Sorry, Gloria.
Weird way to die.
The official cause of death was cardiac dysrhythmia, caused by kidney failure due to her cervical cancer, and with that, the case was officially closed. However, the cause of the puzzling illnesses at the emergency room remained a mystery.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if I was in that office and the guy was like, well, case closed, I feel like everybody else in the office was like,
you forgetting something?
Close that case?
With that being said, let's hop into some of the theories as to what occurred that night.
Ooh.
The first theory comes from the California Department of Health and Human Services.
Reputable, I think.
Well, I think this theory's bullshit, but...
Okay, well, yeah,
anyways.
It would be, to you. The most reputable, logical, fact-based source. Yeah.
Total horseshit.
Horseshit.
Who interviewed 34 emergency room staff members on duty that night. They concluded that the emergency room staff experienced a mass sociogenic illness, or mass hysteria, which is defined as an illness with no identifiable environmental cause, despite a group of people agreeing on a set of experienced symptoms.
Yeah, good, yeah.
You think they all just imagined it at the same time?
I mean, that's happened before. There's a bunch of those people in France who started dancing until they died.
What?
Yeah.
You just made that up right now.
It's a real thing, pal.
Coming soon on Unsolved. They pointed to the absence of poison in Gloria's system and the fact that nobody in the ambulance on the way to the hospital had experienced any symptoms. Most mass sociogenic illnesses have an environmental trigger that sets off the experiencing of symptoms. The California Department of Health identified the strange odor as this trigger.
You know, the mind is a powerful thing.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, 23 of the people were affected, and not all of them were in that room.
Word travels fast at a hospital.
They're all texting each other, yo, come check out the fruity garlicky smell.
You don't think? They were probably shouting down the hallways at each other.
However, Julie Gorczynski, the medical resident most affected by the incident, filed a lawsuit for $6 million against the coroner's office and the hospital, and disapproved of this explanation. Maureen Welch, the respiratory therapist, also felt she was not a victim of mass hysteria.
The whole idea of hysteria is that you don't realize it. You're not like, yeah, we all participated in a mass hysteria. It was a real riot. Gorczynski was, man, she got fucked up. She was having a great time. What a fun hysteria that was.
You know, it's not like a flash mob?
No, it's not a flash mob.
Okay. The second theory is from the Livermore Laboratory, who had discovered abnormally large amounts of a compound called dimethylsulfone in Gloria's autopsy samples. To explain this, they theorized that Gloria used an anti-inflammatory gel called DMSO to cope with her cancer pains. The gel would account for the garlicky smell and oily sheen. And interestingly enough, DMSO is one oxygen atom away from the compound dimethylsulfone, the mysterious compound found in excess in Gloria's autopsy samples. The Livermore lab performed a test, combining DMSO with oxygen much like the oxygen mask administered to Gloria that night. And the result was an oversaturation of dimethylsulfone to the point where white crystals were formed. Crystals that look similar to the manila-colored particles seen in Gloria's blood by the medical staff that night. And with that, they proved how the dimethylsulfone could have appeared. But the reality is that dimethylsulfone is still harmless. However, the team theorized that if the dimethylsulfone broke down, perhaps due to the electric shocks of the defibrillator as people on the internet have suggested, and then combined with natural sulfate compounds inside Gloria, it could form dimethylsulfate, which is a strong chemical that can cause damage to the heart, liver, and kidneys. It also can cause paralysis, delirium, and convulsions, to name a few, symptoms that are uncannily similar to those experienced by the medical staff that night.
Well, there you go.
So essentially, there was an excess of this one compound.
Yeah.
And they figured that if this compound could break down and combine with sulfate, which sometimes occurs in bodies, it would cause this really, really poisonous compound.
And you don't believe this because?
You'll see. However, their theory that dimethylsulfate was formed inside Gloria has been highly scrutinized by other scientists as impossible. And it's also worth noting that the Livermore lab did not run any tests to try and prove this theory or create a successful simulation. In fact, the head of the lab himself admits it is merely a theory. Quote, "We've never said this is what happened, just that people should look into it," end quote. He backpedaled really quick.
Yeah, he really did.
Nonetheless, the coroner's office ran away with this theory and released a statement in November 1994 stating it as the most likely cause. The third theory is from the Ramirez family, who believes that the emergency room incident and Gloria's death were due to the hazardous conditions already present at Riverside General Hospital. In fact, in 1991, 3 years before Gloria's death, 2 hospital employees were forced to receive medical treatment after a sterilizer may have leaked poisonous gas.
Oh, what?
3 years before.
Not great.
No, it's not ideal.
Not a great track record.
In 1993, sewer gas was found in the emergency room in an inspection. Here's a quote from Gloria's sister Maggie. Quote, "I honestly believe my sister may have lived if she hadn't gone into that emergency room that night. I don't know what the county is afraid of, but we want answers." End quote. There are 3 strange occurrences to support this theory and may suggest a possible cover-up from the county.
This goes all the way to the top. I don't know if we should be looking into this, Ryan.
Yeah, they're gonna come after us.
Some stones are
They're gonna
best
come
left
after us
unturned.
with some oily sheen for us.
Oh, they're gonna, yeah. We're gonna wake up tomorrow morning, you have an oily sheen on your chest.
That's their calling card.
I can't wait till this story is over so I never have to say the word sheen ever again.
What is with you and Sheen?
I don't like it. It's too close to my name.
You don't want the nickname Garlicky Sheen Shane?
No, I don't.
The first is that after the initial autopsy, Riverside County Deputy Coroner Dan Capito said that Gloria had not died from natural causes. But after the county revealed their official autopsy conclusions, Capito flip-flopped, claiming Ramirez had in fact died from natural causes.
Capito.
Capito.
Yeah, I knew it was you, Capito.
The second strange occurrence is that the initial investigator from the coroner's office, Stephanie Albright, a woman considered a top investigator, had committed suicide 1 month into the investigation. Deputy Coroner Dan Capito said that due to the case, Albright, quote, may have been under pressure, end quote. The third, and perhaps most peculiar occurrence, was the fact that the syringe used to take Ramirez's blood was accidentally tossed out. An oversight that is especially curious when you consider the fact that the hospital even took the time to put staff members' clothes in bags in the parking lot that night.
Meanwhile, they're playing hot potato with a poison syringe.
With the poison syringe. Oh, this is like one of the weirdest scientific occurrences of all time. Yeah, bag that up, throw it in the trash. Kobe, you threw it in. However, Tom DeSantis, the Riverside County spokesperson, claimed the vents in the emergency room were checked by independent inspectors after Gloria's death, and nothing unusual or harmful was found. Yet, the Ramirez family maintains that something is being covered up, and filed a malpractice and wrongful death lawsuit against Riverside County.
Each one of these theories that you're positing, they make more and more sense. The first one I was like, yeah, that could be it. And then the second one I was like, oh yeah, great. Exactly. And now this third one is like, oh, there's sewage and poisonous gas in the hospital? Yeah.
The fourth theory is from the internet, where many believe that the emergency room incident is a strong case for Gloria Ramirez being a victim of alien abduction.
Okay. Nope. You just shut your mouth. I'm done.
What's the difference between this theory and the other 3?
Because the other 3 are based on facts and some pretty plausible, like, shut up. I can't even, I thought you were like on the level on this one. The first 3 theories were so grounded in reality, and now you're just like, oh yeah, Bigfoot spooged on her chest.
UFO enthusiasts cite her unusual reaction with the emergency room staff as evidence of extraterrestrial meddling. Look, I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm just saying it's a possibility. Can you say definitively that this is not a possibility, that she wasn't abducted?
I definitively cannot.
It's a theory then.
Well, get into the theory.
That is it. That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Fuck you. That definitively did not happen. Because the theory then is just,
maybe it was aliens.
Maybe aliens, though.
After all these years, the mystery behind the strange occurrence at Riverside General Hospital endures the test of time. Was it a case of mass hysteria? Was this an improbable chemical reaction gone wrong? Perhaps this was a cover-up of poor hospital conditions. Or is this proof of something beyond science, possibly extraterrestrials? Regardless, no theory has been definitively proven, and the case of Gloria Ramirez remains unsolved.
You know what happened? The aliens probably abducted her.
Oh, I can't wait to see where this is going.
Aliens probably abducted her. The aliens were like, all right, let's do our stuff. Let's do all our little tricks on her. Let's put a little probe up her butthole or whatever they do. And then they probably started throwing up. And they were like, holy shit. And one of them was probably like, we should evacuate the whole ship. And someone else was like, fuck that, drop her off at a hospital.